Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Quantum Astrology Gathering. And today it's my extreme pleasure to have Castell. Am I saying your name right? I don't know if I ever actually
That
asked you
works.
how you
Yep,
pronounce your
that
name.
works.
Okay. With me today. Now, we've been connected kind of online for quite a long time, and she was just a no-brainer to invite on this quantum astrology gathering because in my opinion, Cayelin works in a very quantum way. She's also a shamanically guided person. I'm a shamanic practitioner as well. We both kind of work in that kind of connected state with all of the planets, I believe. But Cayelin has been exploring alchemy and astrology for most of her life. She's been a professional astrologer for over 30 years and is the co-founder of Venus Alchemy. And we both have that interest as well. My Star Alchemy and the former Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. In addition to writing monthly celestial timings for over 28 years, she enjoys sharing these mysteries through personal readings, a YouTube channel, and teaching both online and in-person events, including the Conscious Life Expo and Astrology Hub, changing lives and perspectives from the visionary understanding that we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us because we are the living embodiment of the mysteries. And I just love that little section of your bio. For those that want to know that if you have entered your email, Cayelin has offered us a lovely free gift as well, guided journey to the stars that you will have access to for registering for this gathering. So, welcome, Cayelin. I'm very excited to hear you talk today about the quantum alchemy perspective of the fixed stars because they're not something I've worked with hugely in my life, but I saw your presentation for another event and you talked about the sacred hoop and all of these things, and it just hooked me. So, I had to invite you back. So, I'll just let you tell us what you've got to teach us.
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. This is so fun. And of course, I'm passionate about speaking about what's going on and hopefully giving people a sense of the grander scheme of things that are
Mhm.
happening. And
Mhm.
yes, and because we've forgotten so much of this. And so,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, so I'm looking at this as, alchemy and really any shamanic practices incorporate alchemy because alchemy is
Mhm.
about changing what is just up leveling it into something more, right?
Mhm.
Taking the base elements, turning them into gold is the basic understanding of that. So, and
Yeah.
then the I just love this image of the above
Oh.
and the below because this is as above, so below, as below, so above. And literally it is the also as within so without
Mhm.
is the primary law of the universe. This is in the Hermetic texts,
Mhm.
the emerald tablets of Hermes,
Mhm.
and the it goes on to say it's like what's in the great above is the same as what's in the great below, and what's in the great below is the same as what's in the great below, and the accomplishment of the miracle of one thing. And
Mhm.
to me, the miracle of one thing is living heaven on earth and recognizing that it's all interconnected, we're all interwoven, and it's not something that's separate from us, but has got separated in our consciousness and our awareness due to, whatever times and whoever was in charge and all
Oh,
of that.
yes. Yeah.
So I
Oh.
will want to invite people because I'm going to share some things that may not be familiar or easy to understand
Mm.
with the logical, rational mind. And so I always like to start with reminding people that it's okay, that you don't need to know this from the perspective of the mind. If you
Mm.
can feel it, if you get a sense of it, that's so amazing. Also, consider opening to the wonders of the sky mysteries as they relate to our experience here on Earth, going beyond the logical to the magical.
Mm. I
Oh my
totally
God,
agree.
so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you that it took me a while to really understand at the level that I do now. I mean, I have been
Mhm.
doing this for over 30 years, so it took me a while to get it at this level.
Mm.
Uh, a good 4 or 5 years before I could really even like try to explain it to people.
I
And
know.
so if you
Oh
don't get it
yeah.
the first time,
It will keep you'll keep absorbing it, I think, if you allow yourself to feel it. Yeah. Hmm.
I love this book but from Paige Bryant called Star Walking: Shamanic Practices for Traveling into the Night Sky. I
Hmm.
got it back in the 90s. She was living in Sedona at the time, and I was busy raising 4 kids, so I didn't get to meet her at any of the things she was doing in Sedona. And then she moved to North Carolina, and then she passed in, I think it was 2014 or sometime in that. I would have loved to have met her because she was just brilliant. But
Mm.
so this is a quote that I feel like helps to set the stage for what it is that we're talking about. So she says, our ancestors made use of the power inherent within individual stars, the esoteric knowledge of the constellations, the secrets of celestial computations, and of cosmic order. The cultures who possessed that vast body of wisdom in its entirety were able to answer vital questions about the nature of the universe and make giant leaps in evolution. So here we are, hopefully making another giant leap in evolution.
Mm.
He taught that all life is sacred and that all is alive, every star, every planet, every tree and stone, everything. That knowledge gave them a technology that still puzzles us today. So
Yeah.
just even beginning to tune in to the sky and to the stars and to the planets as they move through the sky with the constellation, the starry backdrop, understanding some of the things that we're going to look at here is the place to begin. It's
Mm.
definitely a place to begin. You don't have to get it all. But if we think about this, it was a technology that was based more on the direct experience and
Hmm.
less on the rational mind. So
Yeah.
how cool is that?
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm starting in the big context of a cosmic year, uh, because we're going to kind of try to bring it back down into something that's a little bit, I mean, because how can we even contemplate 250 million years for our
Yeah.
solar system to revolve around the Milky Way core?
I know. I know it's mind bending, but
Mind-boggling. Yes.
yeah.
So we're just going to leave that one there. And then this is another one that I love that I learned from Nassim Haramein, who's, we'll see a little bit more of his work in a moment too, but he's the founder of the Resonance Project. And I just love what he did. I think I saw some of these back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He did this series of videos. They were
Mm.
just brilliant. But he talks about how the Earth is aligning along the galactic plane, or actually our whole solar system is lining along the galactic plane. And it doesn't happen very often. I mean, it happens for a while. It's not like just
Hmm.
one day or a year and it's gone. It happens for many, many years. We're in it, but it happens once in 30 million years.
Yeah.
So another big, like, how do we get our mind around that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then another thing that he talks about that I love is that the Earth is rotating around the sun, but it's also moving through space. And
Mm.
so the whole solar system is moving through space. So over the time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun one time, 365 and a quarter days,
Mhm.
it moves 47 billion miles through space, meaning we're always in a different place in space. And each area is encoded with new information, meaning we're constantly receiving new codes that are
Mhm.
now being amplified by the Earth's galactic alignment. So I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute, but just to kind of get a sense of like, this is huge. This is so big. It's like to expand our sense of what's going on in the world to beyond
Mhm.
what you might think of in ordinary reality. And another book I really, really love is Starlight Elixirs and Cosmic Vibrational Healing. Also got this in the 90s. And it's a mostly channeled book, but just so much of the stuff about different stars. Like what's the energy of the stars and what's the history or the way to tune into or connect with specific stars. Very, very cool. And so Michael Smolkas and Fred Rubenfeld, they talk about how The process of becoming more aware of the stars, using them in various forms and understanding their symbolism is an inner as well as an outer journey. For many of the things the stars symbolize extend back through human consciousness for millennia and have influenced the development of symbols, legends, and the understanding of consciousness itself. Each star can provide energy, vibration, and reflection of some aspect of yourself. Now, there may be some that we find we resonate more with, and we're going to talk about specifically Regulus, and
Mm,
we'll a little bit about the sacred hoop and that kind of thing. But just so that we have an understanding that if we begin to tune in and just go outside and sit with the
yes.
stars, that they are assisting you. And should you seek out and request such help in order to provide a new sense of your life, your purpose, and your coordination with other humans, plants, animals, and the earth herself. So, like, if you wanted to have a practice, go sit out under the sky and
Mm,
begin to know if you don't already know, begin to know more of what stars it is that you're looking at. And different times of the year, different
mm,
stars are available, constellations. Right now, what I'm loving is at the time of this recording is Sirius is in the morning sky. You can't
mhm.
miss because it's
And
so
I,
bright.
I, I get up early morning and walk before daylight, so I can see that. And it really does make a difference getting out under it and seeing it. And we're so lucky now that we have all these phone apps that can tell you what you're looking at. So,
Yeah,
Star Walk, for example.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then once you get really good at this, you don't even need the phone apps anymore.
No,
It's
you
like,
don't.
I can see that and I get that. And oh, I see those over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And oh my gosh, look at that planet going by that star.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the current sky mysteries is what we're looking at, and just to kind of get a basis before we jump into the more individual aspects, or why this is way bigger than the so-called age of Aquarius. And I will explain that in a moment. But this is coming from the perspective that we're in a great galactic new year,
Mhm.
and it's a 26,000 year precessional cycle, meaning that the seasonal points are moving through the constellations, and what's happening now is like really important.
Yes. Oh, it really
So,
is. Oof.
yeah, this great year, galactic year, precessional cycle happens because the Earth is wobbling like a top. It's wobbling as it's turning, and and it's also tilted. So there's a specific wobble that's happening, and certain stars that point north based on that. And we're not going into all of that at this point, but just so you have a sense that there's a reason why this
Mhm.
is happening, and it takes the seasons, each point will move about 1 degree every 72 years. Now, it's not the stars that are moving,
We
it's the
are.
seasonal signs that are moving.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
yeah.
the ones that are moving. Yeah, so I love that you said that. Yeah, we're the ones that are moving. And then when we look out in the sky, it's like, oh, I used to see that in this season. And now it's over time. Of
Mm,
course, we don't usually often live long enough to really see a big difference, but we can get a sense of it, and we'll get a sense of it as we look at this a little further. Now, the cycle and how it moves over time was forgotten, and the constellations and seasonal signs were named the same names, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. And this cycle fuels the evolution of awareness due to the interaction of the seasons with the constellation. And I was just sharing this yesterday. In fact, is that what I sense has happened is there was a split in our consciousness. And
mm,
there's the sidereal astrology, which looks at the constellations, and tropical astrology, which looks at the seasons. And so it's different points of view. And
yeah.
neither are bad or right or wrong or better
No.
than the other, but we need to bring them back together and
Yes.
see how they work together so we can create a greater wholeness in our awareness. And that's my passionate
Oh,
thing.
mine too. And, I think astrology, itself became so separated and rational and like, we've got to kind of prove it and prove it works and like a party
Well,
trick.
yeah, it got
But,
demonized actually
it did
in
get
a
demonized out at times, yeah, and so often is still. But everything's got to come back together. It's just, yeah, or it is
yeah,
coming back
agreed.
together.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
as mentioned, the signs represent the seasons. So what you're seeing here is the seasonal signs on the outside ring and then the constellations on the inside ring and how they're lining up currently, more or less. There's still a little overlap in some places, but
Mm.
it's like if you're going to create a wheel, this is what you can do. Just,
Mhm.
just recognize that the seasons are just shifting back through the constellations 1 degree every 72 years. Now, the
Mhm.
zero Aries point, which marks the March equinox, and interestingly, astronomers actually agree with astrologers on this.
For a
So
change.
they're the seasonal points. Yeah, that's like one of the very few things they agree on. Uh, but so when the sun reaches zero Aries, we have the balance of day and night. And we're doing the recording on the day the sun has reached zero Libra, which is the balance of day and night, but in the opposite part of the sky, in the opposite
Mhm.
season. And so then what happens is that zero point for the next 30 days, the sun moves about 1 degree a day is that seasonal sign.
Mm.
So that's how these signs are related to the seasons. So zero Taurus follows, 30 days later, and then after that it would be Gemini, and then after that it would be zero Cancer, the June solstice, zero Libra, the September equinox, and zero Capricorn is the December solstice. So these are how they relate to the seasons. This is
Mm.
all seasonal. Now, what's happening is that the here we have like if you looked out in the sky and you could draw the plane of the solar system
Mm.
and the plane of the galaxy, and you can see the plane of the galaxy because it's very bright, especially in this part of the sky. You can
Mm.
see it coming through, and then and how the planets are moving through and they cross. And this is called the galactic cross. So
Mm.
the intersection of these two planes. And then, of course, the celestial equator is the Earth's equator expanded out into space. And that's a whole other story we're not going to
Yes.
go into, right?
No.
But so the
No.
constellations are marking the sidereal zodiac. And then the seasons, and we're going to see this in a moment, are marked by the tropical zodiac.
Mm.
And what we're seeing here, this is when the sun rises at zero Capricorn here at this time. It started doing that within a degree of this exact cross in 1926, and it will be within a degree of this exact cross until 2070. And that's based on the
Oh.
research of, why am I not thinking of his name? Of an astronomer. I'll think of it in a minute, maybe. And he found that the exact center point was 1998. So if you put 72 years on one side and 72 years on the other side, you get 1926 to 2070. So this has been going on for a while.
Mm.
144 years, 26,000 years is nothing. But if you only put 36 years on either side or half a degree on either side, it would have started in 1962 and goes to 2034. We could say that's the center point
Mm.
of this great galactic alignment that has been happening. And so, wow.
And I think we know what kind of began in the 60s, really. So,
Mhm.
yep. And
Yes, I mean, wow, things really started moving and shaking a lot faster.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so the constellations have two names. And above here, we have the traditional names, Leo, Cancer, Gemini. Oops, not what I meant
Mm.
to do. Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces.
Mm.
And they also have alternate names, the lion, the crab, the twins, the bull, the ram, the fish. And we're also seeing where the summer solstice sun is now on the cross and
Mm.
it's at the galactic edge. So the one we were looking at before is at the galactic center, and this one's at the galactic edge.
Mm.
So this is pretty amazing. Now, if one of the things I did was, okay, here's the zero Aries point, the vernal equinox point. And doesn't matter what hemisphere you live in, when the sun reaches zero Aries, you're shifting either to spring or autumn.
Yeah.
And it's under the circlet of the fish constellation. And I'm going to share more about that in a moment. For 30 degrees, then it goes into Taurus, and that's as it's moving into the Ram. And then for 30 degrees, it goes into the Bull, and the Pleiades are right here, but it goes into Gemini. And so this is how the seasonal signs are different than the constellations.
Mm.
So if we name the constellations a different name, we don't get confused. Because if we call this Pisces, but this is Aries, it's
I
like,
know.
what?
I know.
I can't,
And
I
this, and
can't.
this, and this is why, some people criticize astrology because they can't kind of figure out why this is different. Yeah. So,
Exactly. So
mhm,
well said.
yeah.
And this idea of calling the constellations a different name as than the seasonal signs
Mm,
comes from Rudolf Steiner. And he was really speaking about this back in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. So it's been around. It's caught on in his school.
yeah.
Hasn't really caught on everywhere else. So I'm hoping maybe we can help it catch on here. And
Yeah.
so here's the Aries equinox under the fish. And then
Hmm.
it goes through this constellation, through the ram, through the bull. And between the horns of the bull and the feet of the twins is the summer solstice, the
Hmm.
zero Cancer point. And that's again on the galactic cross at the galactic edge. So just to kind of give this another way of seeing it, this is where the red lines here are the current solstice and equinox points and where they're
Hmm.
showing up in the constellations. Previously, 2,160 years ago, the December solstice was in the goatfish, also known as Capricorn or Capricornus, as the
Hmm.
astronomers call it, and it was moving into the Archer or Sagittarius, as it's also known.
Yeah.
And currently it's between the Sagittarius and the Scorpion. So it also that was when way back when the spring equinox or March equinox was at zero Aries was in the Ram. It was leaving the Ram and moving into the Fish. And then the June solstice was uh, it, oh, I mean, it was in the Crab moving into the Twins, which is where it
Yeah.
is, it's like
Yeah.
sitting at the feet of the Twins right now. So this kind of gives you a sense of how over time these seasonal signs shift through the constellations. And if we had been looking at this 13,000 years ago, everything would have been the opposite of where it is right
Yeah.
now. So instead of the December solstice here, it would be the June solstice. Instead of the June solstice, it would be the December solstice, and the flip of the equinoxes as well. As so they were rising in those places. And we're going to come back to the equinox ones in a
Mm.
moment when we look at Regulus and the lion. So here's the sacred hoop at the galactic edge, and where the June solstice sun, the plane of the galaxy and the plane of the solar system, or the ecliptic, the path of the planets, on the June solstice is exactly on this cross
Mm.
currently. And so the Lakota, Dakota, other tribes, I'm pretty sure have seen this as the sacred hoop of
Hmm.
stars. And we can say, this is Capella. We have Castor, Pollux, Procyon, however you want to say it, Sirius, Rigel, and the Pleiades,
Hmm.
marking this sacred hoop. Now, the astronomers will call it the winter hexagon, and they use Aldebaran and then go up to Capella. So they cut out the Pleiades from the hoop. But the native peoples saw
Yes.
it as yeah. So when planets are moving through the sacred hoop of stars, they're connecting with what the native people saw as uh, very sacred in their
Mm.
perspective. So this is another way of drawing it. I love that I do Venus Alchemy with Sheridan, and she drew this because I can't do that. I could make it look like a shield more than like a
Yeah.
than like a circle of stars. But when you see it out in the sky, it's like, yeah, it really looks like a circle. And then if you know
Mm.
that the plane of the solar system, and the path of the planets, and the also known as the ecliptic, and the galactic plane are
Mm.
intersecting at the center of this hoop of stars. Like how they were tuning into this, so
Mm.
amazing.
It
Now,
really.
on May 20th or 21st every year, the sun enters the sacred hoop, and it's with the Pleiades. And then, of course, it'll pass Aldebaran. Then it's at the June solstice point, and then it goes through the twins, and then it exits the hoop, and then it enters into the Leo season. And what's amazing about this is planets also do this, Mercury and Venus once a year, Mars every couple of years, Jupiter every 12
Mm,
years. Jupiter happens to be in the sacred hoop at the time of this recording, not too far from Aldebaran and really sitting between the horns of the bull.
mm,
And that can only happen every 11 and a half years or so. So anyway, this sacred hoop is being lit up by Jupiter, and Jupiter's here until it goes into Leo. So I think it's June of 2025, it'll be on the cross at the place that the June solstice enters. When it enters Cancer, it'll be sitting right
oh,
here.
oh, exciting. Wow.
Oh, cool. Yes, very, very
Oh,
cool.
I'm just
And
gonna
then
have to
for,
look at that. Yeah, you carry on while I
yeah,
indulge myself.
and then for the most of the rest of that year, it's going to be moving through the twins, and then it won't, it exits the hoop it's right around 23 or 24 degrees Cancer that it
Mm,
exits the hoop. So pretty cool.
very, very. And then Uranus will follow, of course, as well. So,
Yes,
whoa,
yes.
whoa.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Uranus goes into well, it connects with Gemini, I
Yeah,
mean with Zero's Gemini with the Pleiades in 2025.
yeah.
And then Chiron will be connecting there. No, I'm sorry, not there. It'll
No,
be later.
no.
It'll be
Yeah.
second. Never mind. I
Never
take
mind.
that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but this is an historical Lakota star map that was reconstructed in 2015, and it features the sacred hoop of stars. And so this was how Native people would see it connecting to the land. The
Mm,
Hopi did this also with the Belt of Orion. They connected the three mesas of Hopi land with the Belt of Orion. So Native peoples have connected and had this connection with the stars for a long time. It's pretty cool to
mm.
think about. And just to know about,
Is that tower the Devil's Tower? So that we called it the Devil's
kind of
Tower.
looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks like it. Yeah.
I've
I'm
been
not 100,
there. Oh,
yeah.
I think it is. It's a very sacred site. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so here you see the sacred hoop with the cross in the middle. And so lots of petroglyphs that we can find around. Here's a woman doing a hoop dance, and I've seen the Navajo hoop dance, and I think there might be other native cultures that do the hoop dance, but the Navajo hoop dance is the one that I've been witness to, and it is
Mhm.
wow.
I've
And
seen
they,
it. It's yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and in the oh gosh, the back in 2000, well, actually it was before 2000, there was a white buffalo calf born in
Mm,
1994, I think
I think it
it
was.
was.
Yeah.
And this native man kept having this vision of all these eagle feathers in a circle, and he went to the
Mm,
elders and said, "What does it mean?" And they said, "You are to build a 100 eagle feather hoop of nations, sacred hoop of nations, and that will have healing possibilities and so on within it." And he's like, 100 eagle feathers. It's rare to get one eagle feather
mm,
in a life, much
yeah.
less 100. And so he's just like, I don't even know if I can even make that happen. Well, he started getting eagle feathers coming to him
Mm,
in just the craziest ways. And he tells stories about how that happened. And they just kept coming. And then one day they stopped coming. And so he's like, huh. And he'd been putting them in a box, and he went and counted them all. He had 100.
well,
So they were able,
I got chills with that story. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they created this sacred hoop with the eagle feathers. And then they brought elders from all around the world. They took this hoop and put it outside where the white buffalo calf had been, in the pasture where the white buffalo calf was.
Mm,
And they gave it these four gifts: the gift of unity, the gift of hope, the gift of healing, and the gift of forgiving the unforgivable. And in 2000, they started this had been traveling around to different places for a while for the healing possibilities that it carried. But in 2000, they decided to walk the hoop from LA to Washington, D.C., and reverse the Trail of Tears. And I got to join that in Arizona when it came through
Wow.
Arizona. I got to hold the hoop, walk with the hoop. I mean, it was so
Oh,
cool.
oh, wow.
So, so I feel like I have a special connection to the
Mm,
sacred hoop of stars because I've had the connection to the sacred hoop on the planet, on that these
definitely.
people had created and that they were doing their thing and so on. So, which is also amazing if we think about we're in this shift of a 26,000 year galactic year.
Oh,
And these are intentions that are being energized at this time by different cultures and there's different ceremonies and different things that have been going on for a while
yeah.
around it. But when we tune into the sacred hoop of stars, we can also tune into the healing gifts of unity, hope, healing, and forgiving the unforgivable as well. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
So, and right now, is in the morning sky, you can see the sacred hoop really easily
Mm,
in the morning sky. So I love being able to see that.
mm,
So here's a question that we want to ask as what degree is the constellation informing the sign? And so this is about the essence versus content or the evolution of understanding. So we have a certain specific understanding of the signs and of the constellations. Sometimes they're similar because, of course, that's what we've been projecting onto them. So, of
mhm,
course, we're going to see the way we project it. And but as these seasonal signs move through the constellations, our view of reality is changing. I'm going to give an example of that in a moment. And this creates an evolution of how we perceive and connect with our reality. So this is the time we live in. We are the ones that are co-creating the new reality through
mhm.
our perception. And ideally, we're connecting with the stars to get the light codes and information from them that help us to create the best, most enlightened, most loving, kind, caring world we could possibly live in, because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I know. That's so good. So when the March equinox moved into the fish back in 111 BCE, the focus was on religion. And it was the fish uh, constellation or Pisces, because I call it the age of Pisces.
Mm,
And that's when the religious wars began. And so the zero Aries point is in the constellation of the fish, and Aries has often been seen as war. Now, my perception of Aries is it's about restoring justice. It's
yes.
about standing for what's true and for protecting the cosmic order of life. But it had gotten distorted. And so that's the distortion that happened to express through the dominator culture
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love this book from Jeffrey Cornelius, the Starler Handbook, because he's the one that said that was Christian culture. The fish is identified with Christ as the first fish who was born after the March equinox point had precessed from the constellation of the ram back into the constellation of the fish, making the transition of a new great age or new month in the great galactic year. So the ancient form of the fish is thought to have consisted of only one fish.
Mm,
And and also, and so there was the fish that's rising up. We can see the fish that's rising up, and the one that goes along the ecliptic. And the equinox is going to be rising up in this fish for such a long time. But the uh, the water droplets of the water bear do come over the head of the fish. So
mm,
there's a little overlap between them. Anyway, but I think of Pisces, the mermaid, it's a mermaid. It's like was the Greek astronomer who tells us that the origin of the fish symbol is Dirke, a Syrian goddess who was half fish, half woman. And this is a ancient depiction of her. And then how we might be looking at Pisces, but
mm.
it's not Pisces the sign, it's Pisces the constellation, so the fish.
Yeah.
Anyway, trying to keep that all straight. So part of the reason it's really important for us to know about the constellations and how to tune into them, how to find them. According to Rudolf Steiner, it's not enough to have a sentimental view of the stars and the sky. He says the pyramid texts state that the stars and constellations are a direct link to the patterns of the sky and the ability to navigate the in-between realms when one dies and journeys to the next experience. It's also known as navigating the bardos,
Mm,
and that comes from a Tibetan Buddhism. And it's referring to the intermediate or transitional state between death and rebirth, wherever the rebirth or return to the higher self may occur. So if we know the constellations, that provides clues on how to navigate from one life to the next or to the next world. That's another reason for us having a deeper connection and
Mhm.
understanding of these energies and to start to tune in. And it doesn't have to be what other people have said these stars mean or these constellations mean, because there's an essence and there's content. And the essence is we want to tune into the pure essence because the content we've been given isn't necessarily what it is,
I and
if that makes sense.
I love that you call it essence and content because I've been calling that kind of wave and particle, which is the quantum science part of this.
Yes.
We've lost that connection with the wave. That is like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're focused on the particle, not the wave.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to look at Regulus. It's one of the
Mm,
four royal stars of the ancients. Regulus, Aldebaran is the eye of the bull. Um, Fomalhaut or Fomalhaut, however you want to pronounce
yeah.
that, is the mouth of the fish in the southern fish called Pisces astrinus. Pisces meaning fish, Astrinus meaning south, and it's south of the constellation of the fish, also known as Pisces. But it marks that south point in the sky.
Mm,
So the southern royal star, and then uh, Antares, the heart of the scorpion. So Antares and Aldebaran are east and west. East Aldebaran, west Antares, and Regulus is north, and Fomalhaut is south, marking, and also they are connected to the four archangels
mhm.
because of course they had to overlay that.
And I asked Cayelin to look at Regulus particularly because in January the moon's nodes are moving back into Pisces and Virgo for the first time since Regulus moved into Virgo from our perspective. So,
Yes. So yes, and it was in
mhm.
November 28th of 2011, according to my solar fire program,
Mm,
because I looked it up,
yep.
that Regulus entered the sign of Virgo. And Jane Rajar had written about this happening in 2012, and that was one of the features of 2012.
Mm,
Well, there was only 4 weeks
yeah.
left of 2011, so he was very close
Yeah.
without a computer to calculate it for him. So the so the whole constellation of the lion. So here's the lion. It's got this backward question mark, and it's and Regulus is at the heart or at the base of that,
Mm,
and um it had the whole entire line had been overlaid by the seasonal sign of Leo, for 2,160 years. 2,160 years for Regulus, and that just shifted. So it'll be 2,160 years that it's in the seasonal sign of Virgo.
mhm.
Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, one of the things about Regulus is it's also one of the 15 magical stars of the ancient alchemists. And I just love this star so much. I just
Me
think it's so
too.
great. This is the alchemical symbol of the ancient alchemists that they used to inscribe for Regulus. And these you can
Oh.
put these on amulets, you can, inscribe them, draw them, whatever, and call that energy in to have a stronger, deeper, more powerful connection
Mm.
with the star. And
It looks like a human on all kind of on hands and knees.
yes, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
okay, so anyway, whenever there are planets or stars that are close, and then the nodes, as you were pointing out, Louise, going to be there. Well, it'll take a while before it actually gets to Regulus
Oh
because
yeah.
the backwards, but still just an amazing piece to be tuned into.
Mm,
And so the way the alchemists work with this was when there were stars or planets, or when there were planets, and I guess also perhaps the nodes, if they knew how to calculate that, they would make their amulets, their talismans, their
mm,
ceremonies, their magical symbols, their potions, their elixirs, their star elixirs, whatever that was. And with the intention that it would help align them with the heart energy, we can align with our own heart, knowing more fully when this is happening. So every year the sun is with Regulus around August 22nd, 23rd. So we know we're getting a direct transmission from the sun to the earth at that time from this star. And I just I like this idea that self-love, and we'll look at it
Mm.
in a minute. The Lion constellation has its own energy, and then Virgo has a different energy. So we're going to look at that in a moment. But if we think about the sovereignty of the lion and of dynamic self-love, healthy self-love, self-reliance, self-determination, self-approval, self-confidence, self-acceptance, self-sufficiency, self-respect, any other great self words you can think of is another way to tune into this energy and ask this star to help you connect more deeply with that in your own heart, your heart of
Mm.
hearts. You're already encoded with it. Just how do we wake it up more? How do we tune our attention to it so that we're not at the effect of a more heartless world that we tend to be
Oh,
living in? Though I feel like that's changing. So
oh, it
that's
is. It is.
so so we've got January around 10 p.m. The lion is rising every year around this time. And then February 18th around 7 p.m. the lion is rising earlier. So it's like it's completely in the sky by 10 p.m. in January. But it starts to come, you start to see how it's coming up in February. And so, of course, this is from a Northern Hemisphere perspective. And this is one of the, it's starting to be one of the best times to see the lion, to see Regulus. The sun is setting around the time um, that I'm sorry, yeah, the sun is going to is setting as the time of the lion is rising, and then um, the lion will be setting at the time around the time the sun is rising. So it's a great time to go out and see the and it's reaching its highest point at midnight. Now, March, you can see that the this is the horizon line, that the lion's high in the sky
Mm.
at 9 p.m. And then in June, it's setting, it's headed. So this is looking east in March and looking south, I mean, looking west in June around that time. So this is just to kind of give you a sense, if you want to start tuning into this constellation, these are the times to go out and look. And then, of course, the Regulus is with the sun for about a month before and after the exact conjunction around August 22nd. So here's just something else that I find fascinating with the Lion constellation that connects with Regulus as well. But the equinox sunrise, this is what the sun looks like over the Sphinx, because the Sphinx is facing due east. So this is looking behind the Sphinx, looking at the sunrise and how it like touches the top of the Sphinx is so cool. Like they
Yeah.
knew what they were doing. They were absolutely energizing this. And around 10,500 BC, what was happening was the spring equinox sun was rising in the lion. So the lion, it's like they were facing
Wow.
each other. So here's the lion, and then the sun comes up in the lion, and they're facing each other. And they did that purposefully.
Mm.
So we could say the age of Leo, but maybe better to say the age of the lion, because that was
Yeah.
the zero Aries point when
Mm.
the sun was rising. That it began at the end of the ice age between 10,000 BC and 8,000 BC. And
Do you
so,
can I just ask you if
yeah, yeah,
if you're aware of Sedna? Because you know
yes.
she's at zero Gemini now, and her orbit is 11,406 years. So she was last there around the same time. All of this adds to this big cycle that
Yes. Oh, I
yeah,
love that. I hadn't thought about that.
yeah,
Yeah, about, huh.
yeah.
Okay. So if we think
Hmm.
about, yeah, because she goes so far out, we forget about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
We don't use her
And
in
that's
personal charts. That's for sure.
right. Now she's coming back into awareness, and I love that she's with the Pleiades right now. It's
Yeah.
just so good.
Hmm.
Anyway, okay, so around the time when humans were learning to hunt and plant crops, that was the Stone Age or also known as the Mesolithic period.
Mm.
And it was about sun worship. So now if you think about them crafting a sphinx out of sandstone,
Yeah.
it took and they thought,
Mm.
well, 5,000 years, but it's clearly been there way longer than that.
Yeah.
Um, and how did they have the technology to do that if they were just learning how to hunt and plant crops? Just
I know
my
it's
questioning.
well, it's like how did the Stonehenge like rocks get there that
Right.
weren't even from that area? So,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah. So we're kind of near the opposite time right now, and the equinox uh, sunset is on the shoulder of the Sphinx. You can see it right here. So here's where when it's rising, and here's where it's setting, and it'll be a while before it's back to facing at the equinox, facing because it's precessing back through the lion, and we're going to see that in a minute. But we're getting close to it. So here's what's happening in March. Nowadays, the lion has, like say on March 20th, 21st, is pretty far up in the sky. And then as it's setting well, the sun is with the fish. It's not even near the lion.
Mhm.
So it's not coming up with the lion as it was uh, like 11,000 years ago. Another thing I just find this fascinating is that currently the sun at the September equinox is near the tail of the lion.
Mm.
And it's precessing back. So eventually it's going to be a long time before it gets back a little bit, but it'll come back to Regulus. And so it'll be the September equinox that's rising with the lion. And then in about 25,920 years from the time it's with Regulus, it'll be back, or 13 more thousand years, I guess, would be back at the spring equinox, which means it was 25,000, almost 26,000 years since the last time it was there. So
Mm.
it takes a while. It takes a long time for us to even comprehend that. But here is the tale of the Sphinx. I
Mm.
just find that fascinating. So it's facing east. It's a guardian protector. It's most likely well over 12,000 years old.
Mm.
Um, and here you can see the erosion around it.
Mm.
It's like that didn't happen in 5,000 years.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay, so now what Eric Morse speaks to in his book, The Living Stars, is how the lion has been seen as a constellation that's emanating joy, love, free-flowing inspiration, and creativity, revealing the inner self in the outer world. I love that perspective.
Mm.
And with this in mind and remembering the lion constellation is now mostly overlaid by the seasonal sign of Virgo, how is the lion informing the seasonal sign of Virgo? So here we have Regulus at 0 Virgo, 8 minutes. It moves, 1 degree every 72 years. It's only been there for a while. So it's
Mm.
60 minutes a degree. It'll be a while before we get to 1 degree. But the tail of the line is at 20, almost 22 degrees Virgo, 2155.
Mm.
In the head of the lion is still at 29 Leo, and then 27, 28, so there's still some parts of the head of the lion that are still in the seasonal sign of Leo.
And
But
interestingly, the 29 Leo is where and 27 Leo is where we had that big eclipse that kind of split the US in half. So this kind of all adds to kind of this tremendous time we're in that's just
ah,
way more, as you said, way more than just the age of Aquarius. It's just like
right. Yes. Yes. And I will say there, I love the tail of the lion, the
Mm.
nebula. There's so many fun things we can talk about that, but we'll save that for another. Okay, so the lion in Virgo season. So
Mhm.
if this playful, loving, joyous aspect of the lion is influencing the seasonal sign of Virgo, and Virgo tends to be serious, focused on the sacred work. We must do it the right way.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
they can get very critical if things aren't exactly the way that it looks like it should be, can be kind of OCD, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But now perhaps we have the lion saying, well, maybe we don't need to be quite so particular.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, but can we just lighten up a little bit, have more fun, be more creative and playful? So it's adding this sense of playful service. How are we in service, but it's in a way that's playful. I love these two lion cubs playing.
Yeah, me
And
too.
and the work to be filled with joy and fun. So so sacred work has a certain connotation, but I also could have called it function. Like, what's our function? How are we
Mm,
showing up in a sacred way to accomplish something that's for the benefit of, you know, being in service to spirit, being in service to something greater, that kind of thing. So an inquiry that we could have is, how can our sacred work function, sacred work and function or
mm,
function, also incorporate the importance of healthy self-love, free-flowing creative expression, playful fun, while still serving the sacred, including the divine spirit within us all. So this is something we can tune into, and or you might come up with your own question that really feels alive for you as you tune
mm.
into the fact that zero Virgo, that when the sun reaches zero Virgo, it's with the heart of the lion on August 22nd. And then all the planets, when they're shifting into Virgo, are with the heart of the lion when they're doing
Mm,
that. Something to keep in mind.
mm,
And when we include Regulus as the heart star of the lion, then we could add leading with our heart. How are
mhm.
we leading? How are we on a path of heart? And
Yeah.
vibrating with love and expressing love is the basis of how we honor the sacredness of all life. The heart energy, the love energy.
Mm,
Um, I just love this so much.
me too. And
Uh,
it's so funny because Kaylin and I work in a very similar way, I would suggest, of how we feel the planets. And I speak to all of this in my blogs and my writings, even though I haven't really done the same work with the constellations and the signs. It's I love it how we're coming to that kind of feeling it within us. Yeah.
it's so great too.
Yeah.
I love that you're doing that and maybe haven't worked with it in the same way, but you're tuning into that and
Mm,
feeling the same way. That is just amazing. So
mm,
confirmation for us both.
yes, definitely.
That we're
Hmm.
on the right track. So the last thing I want to share here is that there are going to be a series of moon occultations over Regulus. And it happens to be because of the 19-year lunar standstill. And the last time it happened was in 2016 to 2018. And then the exact lunar standstill is when the North Node reaches zero Aries, which is happening in January of 2025. And then for the next 3 years after that, we're still going to have the moon going and it's out of balance. But most extreme right now is happening right now.
Mm.
And then and so then the moon will come back and be ready to occult Regulus. And then the next series starts July 26th of 2025, coming up quick.
Are
And then
they
to December.
so are they every month then for that
Yeah,
period?
they're
Yeah.
yeah, and some of them are more exact than others, but this
Oh
is
yeah.
again
Mm.
Jean Muse. That was the guy I was trying to think of. 1998. He's the one that came
Mm.
up with the astronomer. He came up with the exact center point of the sun on the cross was 1998. And
Wow.
he also came up with these occultations. And so he wrote a book called Astronomical Morsels, and it has
Mm.
these are the dates that he came up with. So you won't always see it because it
No.
depends on the time of day and a lot
Well,
of
it
different factors.
depends. It depends where as well. Sometimes they're
Right.
visible at different parts of the earth, occultations. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing to keep in mind about occultations is that it's like an eclipse and that it accelerates the energy, amplifies everything. And the moon
Hmm.
then becomes a direct transmitter over to the planet, to Earth from that star energy. And so this series of occultations is something worth tuning into. And if you want to
Mm.
increase your connection, you can just kind of track the moon as it's going to be in the sign, going into the sign of Virgo.
Yeah.
And you know that there's probably an occultation that's happening around. And I got to see a moon occultation over Regulus back in the 90s. And I was just astounded. And I haven't really seen them since then because it's never been the right, like either cloudy or not in the
Yeah.
right place or, whatever. But it's so amazing because you see the moon approaching the star and then it's kind of starting to cover the star and then the star's gone
Yeah.
until a couple hours later when it's moved completely past the star or starts moving past the star. But it's this powerful energy of aligning. So it aligns Regulus with the moon with the earth.
Hmm.
And so we get a transmission or a transfusion of energy from that star, from
And
from
they
whatever star.
and they do act very much like eclipses do, don't they? Occultations, we're they're kind of a reset energy or a wild card energy, a little bit like eclipses. So yeah, wow.
Uh, Yeah, yeah. So just something for people to know about since we've been focused on Regulus here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end with this quote. And as when Louise introduced, said, we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us because we are the mysteries.
Hmm.
So this is why, if we want to have a more conscious, co-creative relationship with great mystery itself, to become more aware of these things is really helpful.
Mm.
So for thousands of years in all cultures, people have been meditating on their favorite stars. Many rituals have also been focused on these heavenly bodies. By gazing at certain stars, breathing in their energy, directing that energy to certain areas of the body, profound change is available.
Mm.
An intention or thought of gratitude and connection can also greatly serve this process. Not only can the stars and those sentient beings that dwell amongst them broadcast thoughts and energies directly to us in a quick manner,
Hmm.
but we too can send our thoughts and feelings to them because we're being informed and they're informing us, and it's a living relationship and one we've lost and we're now getting back. Yay.
We are,
So,
thank heavens. Yeah.
yes, yes. So star meditations can benefit most, and in
Hmm.
combination with the appropriate star, planet, nebula, galaxy, comet, elixir, the effect can be felt. So if a planet is with the star that you're meditating on, that can magnify that. If you have a star elixir, and I will put a link on the page, or
Mm.
actually I will make this whole thing available to people on the free offer page, um, as well, so that you can go and get, if you want to get these elixirs or make your own,
Hmm.
then you can do that. So that's what I got.
Cool. So, I do want to emphasize, and I think you might agree with me, Cayelin, that, you know, yes, it's mind-boggling this, and I really encourage people to just tune into and feel that this is an immense, immense shift that we are in. Science is flipping to say that we actually cannot prove everything rationally. And a lot of scientists are flipping to say, well, there's this quantum kind of unknown intuitive feeling element as well that we have ignored. Astrology itself, I think, as a profession, has to a degree ignored it for centuries as well. But that's not to say that the astrological rational techniques don't work. It's
Right.
just we've just lost that other side of it, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. And the other thing I am very clear, having witnessed this with lots of different astrologers and their approaches and different
Hmm.
ways they look at things, whatever you put your attention on will work. If you
Yes.
choose to look at astrology
Yes.
this way or that way or whatever way,
Oh.
because your attention is there, it's going to manifest for you in that way, and it'll prove to you that it
Mhm.
does work that way.
Yes.
If you're
Mhm.
skeptical, it might not, but at the same time, and so I have seen it just over and over again. And so
Mhm.
why not focus our attention on the high magic, on the
Yes.
alchemy, on the ways that are going to help us live a more joyful, fun, fulfilling life,
Hmm.
magical life. I always like to think of living a magical life or miraculous,
Me
magically
too.
mad.
joyful life. That's
Yeah.
another one for me
Yeah.
as well, which goes to what you were saying about doing Virgo in that joyful, heart-led way. And that's been the focus of my work. I'm kind of in years as a professional astrologer doing it for money. I'm quite a few years behind Cayelin, but I kind of came to it very quickly. I think astrology as a profession really has to let go of everything being so definitive, bad, right? You know,
Yeah. Oh,
uh,
yeah.
all
This is
these.
good, this is bad. This is elevated. This is de in
Oof,
detriment.
oh,
Yeah, we got to move away from all of that. It's
we
like those are old judgments, and they may have worked at one time, not saying they didn't,
nope.
and not saying they don't still, but if we stop putting our attention on that and look at
Hmm.
it as all equally
Yes,
valid and valued and
yes.
important, that the sun in, Leo is not
Hmm.
more important than the sun in
No,
Pisces or some other sign.
no. And
Like
I think
all important. It's all of it's equally important. It just has a different energy to it. And
yes.
so how do you tune into that and honor and celebrate that?
Yeah, and that's why how do you describe the signs? I think you just call them the mysteries, the different mysteries, do you? The schools,
Yeah.
mystery schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted Cayelin on this and some of the other people because I got so tired of kind of fear-based astrology too, talking of where you put your attention, kind of even just as simple as putting a post out there that says oh, this is scary and this is bad. Well, you might be right. If you keep saying it
Right.
will be.
Right. It will be scary if you do put your energy and also it depends on your point of view. So sometimes things
Mhm.
can happen and people are like, "Oh my God, that's the best thing that ever happened." And
Yeah,
other people are like, "The worst thing that ever happened." It's just
it,
all depends on our point of view.
yeah, exactly. It does. And we're in a real perspective changing and mind opening shift as well at the moment, going back to all those energies moving into Gemini, into that sacred hoop. So it's time to
Yeah.
shift perspectives. So,
I love
yeah.
that Sedna is in the sacred hoop now
Yeah.
and will
Yeah.
be there for several hundred years.
Oh, a long time
She'll
without that.
a really long. I think it's like I want to say 2060 something or before she goes into Cancer. It might be
I think
2070. I can't remember. She's in Gemini for a long time, but she's shortening her path because she's on the inside of the,
she
coming towards
is. Yeah,
shorter
she's
side of that elongated orbit.
yes,
So
yeah. So
yeah.
she's going to spend less time in Gemini than she will do in other signs,
Yeah.
but it's still going to be part of this profound expansion of consciousness that we are
Yeah.
experiencing. And that's why they've even come into our consciousness as well, these far out planetary bodies, they're informing us as well. This is also um, um, I talked to another astrologer. You probably know him, and oh God, I'm having a mind blank at the moment. But
I
anyway,
understand.
he said, human consciousness has been kind of going up like this. Now it's going up like this. So,
Agreed. Agreed. And something else to keep in mind because we are here at this galactic new year that's lasting for at least 72 years,
mm,
1962 to 2034, at least. That's the
yeah.
smallest window, right? So we're still in it. And we're the ones with our intention and attention and what we're focusing on and what we're energizing and what we're putting into place. We're
Mhm.
seeding this new galactic cycle.
We are.
And we volunteered to be here at this time to do that.
So
I don't remember
choose.
that personally, but
I
but
know.
I'm like,
It's
oh, I did. I signed up for that. Okay.
I know. But it's like
Yeah.
I cannot absorb enough right now as we enter this shift. It was Steve Judd, by the way, the other astrologer from the UK. But it's because as well, I've got all these connections to the major galactic points as well. So it's like a bit overwhelming as you were going through. I'm like, sure, I might buy that book and that book and that book. And I'm like, I don't know if I actually need to go and buy all the books at this point because I feel it. So
Right. And that's the most important thing.
yeah.
Our rational mind, our logical mind loves to get the information. And
Hmm.
I love to get it in book form. I admit it, I do. But I also feel like I've had downloads and insights that went far beyond anything I've ever read,
Me too.
ever. So,
Me
yeah.
too.
So I
Yeah.
highly encourage people to read the books if it inspires you and helps you get more connected so
Hmm.
that you can go in and open up to receive those insights, but you can get them without the books.
You can. I have a theory now because I have so many unread books that just by being in their presence, there's
Me too. Me too. I agree with
well,
that 100.
well,
It's in
thank
the
you.
quantum field, right? It's in the quantum field. So if
It
they're
is.
close to us, they're really in our field.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on this gathering with us. We're recording this as Cayelin said on the equinox, the Libra ingress, but and you will not get this recording till November, but it's all such a big
They'll
shift
carry the
happening.
energy that's happening here right now. It definitely
Yeah.
will be carrying energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope
So,
that.
and don't forget to register for Kaylin's free gift. She's very generous as well with her free gifts. I know that. So, and just
Yeah,
again, oh
so
yes,
I don't know how you are doing that, but I don't usually require people to give me their email address to get the
okay.
gift. Um, if they
That's
want
that.
to, great. But if they don't
Well,
want to, I don't require that. But it's a star journey that is a way to start tuning into the
mm,
stars. It's a general, it's not like to a specific star, it's like
no,
to a star temple and that kind of thing. And then it'll also have all the slides from this
yeah.
presentation and maybe a couple of other things that are there too. But
Well,
the star journey.
I am not requiring any of the presenters in this gathering to do it a certain way. Each one that feels more quantum in nature to me for each person to do it in their own way. And I agree if people choose to sign up for her newsletter, Kaylin's newsletter is great. I've been getting it for a while as well. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All
thank
right.
you.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you so
Oh,
much. I'm so happy to have been able to share this with everyone.
thank you, everybody.